wonderful to be here with you. So raise your hand for me if you are on LinkedIn, like you have an app, a profile, you do something. Okay, great. I am also now on LinkedIn, but I wasn't for a very long time. I call it one of my COVID projects. I had a friend, a leadership coach, who is often on the profile or on LinkedIn helping people get jobs. And she came across my profile one day and she said, Alison, it's embarrassing. There's a gray bar. There's no about section. You're an adult. You're a professional. You should clean it up. So I did. And then she said, now you should start posting. And I said, slow your roll. I'm not posting anything. But then the pandemic happened. And because this is what I do for a living, my calendar went blanker than almost anyone else's. And I was at home, and I realized very quickly I was not going to bake sourdough bread. And I had already watched The Tiger King. And I'm like, well, now what should I do? I thought, I'm going to post on LinkedIn. All right, so now I'm on the platform. I actually love it. I'll invite you at the end to connect with me. But I say this because now that I'm on it, I also get to see other people's great content. And I wanted to start by sharing the best post that has ever crossed my feed, not written by me, all right? Lauren Howard writes, women really only want 3 things: equal pay, respect, and pockets. And it cracked me up because it was true. But I also noticed something that most people may not notice because of the work that I do. I was particularly struck by the first 2 and the order in which they are listed. Pay, we were just talking and hearing from Vivian this morning about pay and wealth and money. It's an incredibly important resource, but pay is more generally a form of power. Power is any time we control a resource that people value. I have 3 kids. My oldest one just turned 16. The car keys have become a resource that he values. When I hold those car keys in my hand, I have more influence over him when he wants the car. So controlling resources is really important for us. Money is the most liquid resource there is, both our own personal wealth, but also at work. Do I control the budget? Can I hire and fire? Can I make a decision without anyone else's approval? Can I give you a good performance review or a bad one? These are all forms of power. They're really important. Power is a fundamental human need. Psychologists like me have documented that we all seek power, and life is better with it than without it. But the second one on the list is also really important, but I am troubled by the fact that it often falls in second place. Respect, another way of saying respect, is status. And this is what I have studied for over 20 years. Our status is how much other people respect and regard us. It is also a fundamental human need. It is critical to life satisfaction and career success, but we don't talk about it as much. We have talked about power a lot, and it's really important. But the idea here is that status is just as important. And when what Vivian was talking about this morning, of not only is there wealth, but that experience when the new boss came in and clearly didn't value her, and how terrible that felt, that's the feeling of not being respected. And when we are not respected, we have 2 problems. One, life is less fun to live. Not being respected damages your physical health, everything from your life expectancy to your reproductive success. It damages your mental health. And getting those resources, whether it's wealth or being able to control your own decisions, is a lot harder when people don't respect and value you. And so as tempting as it is to say, look, respect is great, but it doesn't pay the bills, that is true. But if we don't understand the science of respect, one, we're not getting credit for all of the greatness we have already put out into the world, and that power that we also seek is a lot harder to get. So my book, Likeable Badass, I wrote it to shine a spotlight on status, which I've been studying for over 20 years. So we want to understand what that is. It looks like this, okay? I think the title is catchy, but I didn't just call that the title of the book because it's catchy. It's actually a reference to how does one human being decide that they respect another human being? What's going on in one's brain? Because all day, every day, you walk around and you're perceiving people and you're judging them, you're updating your opinion. And while you're doing that, they're doing the same to you. Well, guess what? The opinions and the judgments we make of other people, they're not random. They're always based on trying to figure out the same 2 things about people. The first thing I need to figure out about you is, do you care? okay? Do you care about people other than yourself? And this is why I'm just so privileged to follow Trish, because it's exactly what she's talking about. We need to see that someone doesn't just care about their own needs, they're gonna make our lives better. Now, in psychology, we often talk about that as our warmth, our other orientation. On the cover, I call it Likeable. But I need to see that you care. Now, once I figure out that you care, the second thing I need to figure out is, can I rely on you, okay? You don't want to be what I call the flaky friend. Everyone has somebody from a stage of their life, like high school or college, and even now that they're a full-grown adult, you still don't really trust them with anything important, even though you love them. Like, their phone's always on 2% battery, and if you have to fly with them, and you have to get a 4 a.m. Uber for a 6 a.m. flight, you're like, there's no way they're setting their alarm. There's no way I'm not letting them do any of that. I need to know that you care, but I also need to know that I can rely on you, that you are good at what you do. And that is what we talk about as our assertiveness, our results orientation. So when we convince our audiences that two things are true, I care and I'm good at what I do, then respect follows. So getting status, getting respect is not about being better than we are, but communicating to our audiences in ways that showcase our value. So I want to talk about, just in my brief time today, 2 ways that we can do this. The first is, how do we talk about ourselves to other people? So much of what people learn about how capable and caring we are, it comes from us. And so I just want to give you 2 examples here, just talk about the breadth of ways that we can communicate with the world. This first one here, how many of you, everyone today is out of the office, we're at this conference. How many of you turned on your out of office? Okay, good. I didn't. I was raised by a mom who said, Allison, you never tell people when you're out of town, people will rob your house. And I internalized this as an adult to say, you never turn on your out of office, because that's like advertising to the entire world that you're not home, and telling all your colleagues things they don't need to be doing. So I never turned it on until I met somebody. I'll tell you in a minute how I met her. And when I started interacting with her, I noticed her out of office was always on, which was accurate because, like me, she's a speaker, so she's never in her office. But as soon as I started getting her out of office messages, a light bulb clicked on because of what I studied. And I thought, well, isn't that a brilliant way to tell your story? So I'm going to share with you. Her name's Rachel. I'll tell you more in a second. But this is the first out of office I ever got from Rachel. Okay, it's long, but I've highlighted the parts that are relevant. Like, aloha, thanks for your message. If you're getting this, I'm rocking a keynote on stage, fun visuals, social engagement, et cetera. I love working with this team. So she tells you she's in demand, she's off speaking. And then she says, right, because I'm 100% focused on serving my clients today, like I'm going to be focused on you soon, my response is delayed, right? I care. Oh, and by the way, here's my cell phone number if you want to text me a cute picture of your dog, which she said over 500 people have done over the years, okay? Now, when I saw that, I thought that is really brilliant, because Rachel didn't have to look anyone in the eye. She didn't have to say, here's my resume. But every single person that got that message learned a little bit about her and learned, hey, you're good at what you do, you're off doing something cool, and oh, by the way, you actually care about people other than yourself. So our stories are so powerful for how we can convince people that we are capable and we care, and they come in all kinds of forms. That's one way. I'll give you a quick second way here, and I talk about this all the time, and this is in the book, okay? So this is a very surreal experience for me. Stacey Abrams has a very significant cameo in my book, and I often talk about it when I'm on stage, but generally not when Stacey Abrams is also a speaker on the same stage. So I hope she likes it. So here we go. Okay, so Stacey Abrams, I'll put up what she said in a second. But in 2021, she's interviewed on CBS Sunday Morning. The interviewer, Erin Moriarty, asks her a question. Do you aspire to be the president of the United States? And when I heard that, I thought, ooh, that's a tricky question. And we've all been asked a version of that. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or do you want to be promoted or whatever? And you think, this makes me really uncomfortable, because if I know the answer is yes. I don't want to look like I'm overconfident, or I'm not happy where I am, or I expect something that I'm never going to get, et cetera. I don't know what to do with that question. Let me just kind of bat it away as quickly as possible. And I thought, what is she going to do with this question? She took a beat, and this is how she answered it. And I thought it was brilliant. She said, do I hold it as an ambition? Absolutely. And then she said, I see it as my responsibility to say yes to that question. For every young person, every person of color who sees me and decides what they're capable of based on what I think I am capable of. And I thought, damn, that is a good 2-sentence response to that question. Why? Because in 2 sentences is all it takes to say to somebody, I really believe in what I do, I'm good at what I do, and I care about people other than me. And so you'd say, oh, that's really good, Alison, I'm on board, but guess what? CBS hasn't called, and I don't want to be the president. So I don't know what to do with that. But what I would say to you is we are all interviewed multiple times every single day. And we often mess it up. How many times does somebody say to you, what's up, what's new, how's work, how's it going? And we say, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm busy. But with just a few more words than fine, good, or busy, you could strike up a conversation. And in that conversation, you could actually make somebody curious about learning your story. So I'm at an event in the fall. I invite a bunch of people in Chicago, which is where I live. A guy shows up. I really like him, but I don't know him all that well. And I say to him as he enters, solely out of politeness, hey, how was your day today? I'm not sure I cared. And he responds, though. He smiles, and he said, Alison, I had the best day today. I was curious. So now I cared. I said, why was your day so good? And he told me a really brief story. The brief story was he landed a new client. I learned in that story that he works in wealth management. He said, I met this guy for the first time, met him on LinkedIn, we had lunch. At the end of the lunch, the guy signed up to be my client. So I'm really capable. I can turn somebody from a stranger to a paying client in one lunch. But then he said, I'm so excited because this guy has built a lot of wealth, but now that he's built it, what he wants to do with his wealth is truly change the world, right, and make an impact. And I am really grateful because if I can advise him and maximize his wealth, I am basically enabling myself to have this kind of impact on the world. It was a really great story, but all he did in that moment, right, was he made me curious. We need to talk about ourselves. We should not be interrupting people who are minding their own business and give them a 30-minute resume. No one wants it. But in small moments, we have those opportunities to talk about ourselves if we don't throw them away. And I call that in my book, the Stacey Abrams strategy. All right, now, the other thing we need to do is we need to get more people talking about us behind our back, which, since middle school, you've been trying to avoid. Now, sometimes people talking about you behind your back is horrible, but a lot of times, it's actually amazing. How many times have you been in a conversation where someone says, oh, do you know so-and-so? Like, right, do you know Stacey? No, I don't know. Oh my God, Stacey, you're gonna love her. She's amazing. And someone goes off for a minute or two about why Stacey's so great. In that moment, Stacey's status has been built for her by someone else while she's off doing something. Those people, I call them other promoters. And when it happens, it's a beautiful thing. But we can do 3 things within our control to get more people talking behind our back in a positive way that builds our status. And the 3 things are very simple, right? Because this is a room full of busy people who do not have time for any more things on their to-do list, okay? The 3 things are this. 1, meet more people. Rule number 1, people cannot talk you up if they do not know you exist. This is Rachel. Rachel is as extroverted as that picture suggests. Rachel is the author of the out-of-office email. Rachel has opened tremendous doors for me. Until recently, Rachel got me an invite to speak on the biggest stage of women I've ever spoken to. And I point her out. She's been a great other promoter for me, and I think I have been for her. But I use Rachel as one of many examples of people who have opened doors for me because of where I met her. In an airport bar. I took the last seat at the Raleigh-Durham Admirals Club, and despite the fact that I speak for a living, I am quite introverted. I do not typically talk to people in airports, okay? But Rachel's like this. She talks to everyone. She's chatting with the bartender, and she mentions she's a speaker, and that point of similarity was enough for me to do something I typically don't do, to say, hey, I'm Alison, and we struck up a conversation. We stayed in touch after that. That's how I got the out-of-office email. That was 5 years ago. That's how that friendship was created, right? The people who can open doors for you could be anywhere, certainly in this room, but they could be at the gas station, the DMV, the airport, anywhere. And I will tell you this, since I met Rachel, I got a little more open to talking to people in airports. I've never met another Rachel. But guess what? I haven't cost myself that much time either. So getting in the habit of just meeting more people, because you never know where the next person who is really going to build your status can come from. Second thing we need to do is we need to find quick and easy ways, even in meeting someone for 10 minutes, to say, let me add some value to you. And in the book, I give examples for days, but I'm going to give you one here because it's my absolute favorite, because anyone can do it, and I'm going to prove to you anyone can do it. One of the quickest ways to add value to somebody, even if you've known them for 10 minutes, is to offer to make an introduction. Now, why is this particularly valuable? Okay? Well, it's super easy to do. Okay? I learned something about you, and I think, who do I know that you probably don't know, that you might benefit from meeting and would also benefit from meeting you? Now, after I meet you, on my iPhone with simply one thumb, I could type out that message. Person A, meet person B, you're both amazing, I'll let you take it from here. And my work is done. Doesn't get easier than that. But what does it do? One, it's using something that you have for someone else's benefit. I'm making this introduction for you. But it's also distinguishing you as unique in some way. I'm the person that can make that introduction, not necessarily anybody else here. So when we talk about getting more status for the greatness we're already doing, it is not working harder. It is not being better. The hardest working, most caring, most capable people I know are all women. It's about doing simple things that say, how can I quickly convince you, right, that I am capable and caring? And an introduction is a really fast way to do that. The other reason I like an introduction is because literally anyone can make one. So you've been looking at this woman. This woman is Myra Shaw. Myra Shaw is another amazing speaker and facilitator. I got to meet her because someone said, would you like an introduction? And when I met her, it took us about 5 minutes to realize we were kindred spirits. She has a podcast. I've been on it. We stay in touch. We like text friends. We're at that level now. And so, but I got introduced to Myra. You know who introduced me? My then 15-year-old son, the one who now wants the car keys. He went to a program last year. And he said to me after the first night, it was like an academic sleepaway program, but academic. He texts me and he says, Mom, I think the leadership speaker here does what you do. Could I introduce you? And I said, sure, honey, that'd be really nice. And then, of course, he writes me back because he's 15. How do I do that? And I hadn't seen the message. So then he goes about it on his own, and he writes my name and phone number on a piece of paper. And after the next session, he takes it up in a room that's about as big as this and waits to talk to her and hands her this paper. I'd like you to talk to my mom. Now, she tells me at the first moment she thinks she's done something offensive and she's been turned in to answer to me. But she quickly realizes, no, that's not what he's saying. And so she says, you know, Alison, I did not know who you were or what you did. But she said, never in all my years of doing this has a teenage boy asked me to meet his mom. So I figured I was just going to roll with it. And so she reached out to me. We met, and that relationship has now been a year strong. She actually just texted me last week because she's getting ready to teach the same program again this year. And she said, I opened up my folder from last year, and look what's in it, Alison. And there was the note that my son had sent. Now, I say that for a couple of reasons. One, of all the thousands of kids that she will teach, she will remember him. And he didn't do anything that's that hard. He's related to me, right? It's not like he had to call in a big favor. But he's the one who could make that intro. The other thing I want to point out is that he's 15. He can do very few things well, okay? He couldn't even drive. His network's not that good or that big, right? He doesn't put his clothes in the hamper, but even he could keep his eyes open for an opportunity. So what I want you to say is, every time you meet someone, as you listen to their story, the first thing I want you to think about is, what does this person care about? And what is a quick way, even in these 10 minutes, for me to add value to their life? Because if you can do that in an initial interaction, that's the beginning of that relationship, and that's how that status builds. And then the third thing I'm going to say before we move and take some questions in terms of how do we get more people to talk about us is we need to give them a reason to pick up the microphone. There are a lot of people outside this room and inside this room that really respect you. You have earned their respect, but how many of them right now are telling other people about it? To be an other promoter, it's not enough that they think positively about you. We need to convert it into them telling other people. There are a couple of ways you can do this, but I'm just going to say one right here in the time that we have, and that is, and if you remember anything from our time today, is one of the most authentic, joyful, and strategic things you can ever do to build your status is whenever you see somebody else around you doing great work, talk them up. Become an evangelical talker-upper of the great work that the people around you are doing. Why? One, it's fun. Two, behavior in human interaction is reciprocated, right? Did I lose my mic? All right. I know, people can't hear me. Oh, there we go, we're back. Okay, behavior in human interaction is reciprocated. What people do for us, we do in turn. Someone holds a door open for you, you stop and hold the next door open for them. When people hear that you were out and about saying nice things about them, what do? They go and say nice things about you. So one of the most strategic things we can do to build our status is also the most joyful and authentic, which is to be the first person that says the nice thing, right? I never say anything I don't mean, but anytime I catch a thought in my head of I think something positive about somebody, I try to put that out there in the world, right? Somewhere. Maybe it's on social, maybe it's to them, maybe it's in a one-on-one conversation. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you as we go to Q&A with a 10-10-10 challenge, all right? You could even complete this by 3 o'clock this afternoon. Meet 10 new people. They do not have to become your lifetime besties. You just need to meet them. Make 10 introductions, right? Do something small for people and talk up 10 people to others, or extra credit if you want to go for it, ask people to talk you up. Because that is the other way we get them to do it, is when we say, this really matters to me, and they will say, thank you, I would much rather say nice things about you because you're lovely than give you a ride to the airport. So thank you for that clarity. Okay, we're gonna take some Q&A, but I put up here, we can bring it back at some point, that QR code, which is just a way to stay in touch with me if you want. That is, takes you to my website, doesn't sell you anything. It just gives you a link if you want to do 3 things. Follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram, 2 platforms I'm on, and sign up for my free newsletter. It's called The Upper Hand. It's behavioral science to help women excel. I put that out on Substack. But we're gonna transition to questions, but thank you guys all very much. You are amazing.